want to make you feel awkward tonight. I'm going to keep the silence going.
I'll keep it going. I don't care. It doesn't bother me.
I'm not scared.
I'm not scared. We'll keep the silence. We just keep it going for 10 minutes of the episode.
Episode's over. You just never talked the whole time.
Just an hour and a half of awkward silence, dead air, man. as they call it.
Hi, I'm Nick,
and I'm Josh,
and this is the PUDs Podcast.
What's going on, buddy?
What's up, dude?
So you're all bundled up down there tonight. It is freezing outside. I was out walking while I went running at lunch and then went for a walk with Rylan right before sunset, and we had to get bundled up. That wind chill is biting tonight out there.
Yeah, for the listeners, for those who aren't viewing us on YouTube at PUDs_podcast,
if you want to see us in person.
Yeah, if you want to see us in person, but
yeah,
it's okay if you don't need to do that. But for the listeners, yeah, I got the winter hat on, the hoodie. Like, I'm like 5 minutes away from throwing on some gloves because in the basement is very cold right now. So
I'll have to buy you a little space heater or something.
I got a space heater though. I'm just like, I think I'm scarred from the last house that I lived in, like when I lived in Somerset, because like we had radiators, but like half of them didn't work, so I had to use space heaters like on the second floor of my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I hated it, dude.
So you have them, but you're just not breaking them out.
Yeah, I have like 6 of them.
Backwards spite.
It is. It's only hurting me.
It's like, Josh, I can see your breath. You're like, I don't care. I'm not breaking out the space heaters.
I won't do it. I'm never going back. I have central air now. I don't need it.
I'm gonna see you, like, you're gonna leave for like 5 minutes and just punch a hole in one of the intake vents later or something to the basement.
I know, I gotta get something going down here. I don't even think it's on, dude. I think my house is like efficiently kept right now.
It's
like
brand new, so it should be.
Oh, it's so good.
Nice.
It's so good. We keep it a prime 68 in here at all times.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're at 67 upstairs right now, but it's not too bad in here.
It's not a competition, Nick.
Okay. I keep my house at 62. You put on a sweatshirt, you'll be fine. My dad was like super like wouldn't put the heat above a certain amount, like if it was super cold. Yeah. It was like, he'd be like, put a sweatshirt on, it's December. It's like, Dad, it's like the pipes are freezing in my room right now. Can we just put up the heat a little bit more?
My toes are getting numb.
Like, I'm getting borderline hypothermic in my own house. Seems like this is wrong.
Oh man,
yeah. It's the flip side of the summer of not being able to turn on the air conditioning until it was like 90. Right. Oh gosh, man.
I don't know why thermostat jokes are like funny to me.
They are. I think because we're just at that age now.
We're just dads.
We're just dads. Thermostat jokes are good. Put on a sweatshirt. You'll be fine.
Oh man.
What else is new, dude?
Oh, not much, man. Just it's now that we're out of this holiday season, kind of just took a nice opportunity to just chill out. I wanted to cool. We wanted to hike actually Fort Barton Trail this past weekend.
Yeah, down in Tiverton or Little Compton?
Tiverton, yeah.
Tiverton, okay.
But the rain, it just kept raining. Like it was like on and off rain on Saturday, and then Sunday was like I thought it was gonna clear up, but then it like rained for a bit, and we're like, yeah, we're not gonna bother doing all that. So I got a nice relaxing weekend. I watched a couple good movies, but I'm gonna save that for The Descent.
Nice.
And yeah, man, it was nice to, after all the hustle and the bustle of the holidays, to kind of just sit back and chill and relax for a little bit.
Nice.
Get back to the grind. How about you, Guy?
So I got up. Yeah, not super busy. I did get up over the weekend and got up early, though I felt like I was sleeping in late because I left home at like 4:30 for a change instead of like 2:30 or 3 o'clock to go hiking.
Sleeping in. Hold on, can I just say something about that real quick?
Yeah, sure.
It is hilarious. I find it so funny, dude, that like sleeping in now is like being able to sleep till like for me is being able to sleep till like 7 o'clock, dude. I'm like, oh
Yeah, I feel like
today.
if I'm not getting up early to go hiking or we're not doing anything early, like I feel like 7:30, 8 o'clock is like beautiful. Like that's if we get that,
it's rare.
It's great.
So rare.
Yeah, I feel like Rylan knows when we want to sleep in too, and we're up late like New Year's Day or something like that. Like she just knows. I feel like,
dude, Jeremiah just comes in the room with elbow drops at like 5:45 in the morning.
Sounds like a wonderful
daytime yet.
No, go back to bed.
Yeah, so I say, go back to your room. And then he starts crying. I'm like, fuck. All right, get in the bed.
Yeah. It's tough.
Oh man, sorry.
Go it's all good. That was a good aside. Yeah, so I think everybody knows it's been cold as heck this week, and Saturday was very, very nippy, and especially up in New Hampshire. I was kind of watching the forecast. I didn't want to do anything exposed, and I'm kind of getting limited with 10 peaks left to my winter 48, or I was at 10 peaks as of that day. So set my sights on Carter Dome. Hadn't been up there since 2019. It's mostly sheltered out of the wind, and I'll save the more detailed description sort of my hike for probably a future episode. We'll let some of the hikes stack up so I can kind of run through them and break them down, mileage, elevation, and all that fun stuff. I love to get into. But yeah, it was super cold up there. I think the wind chill was forecast at like -30 or something like that. It's one of the coldest hikes, if not the coldest I've been on. But got up there, got up and down safe. Number 39 debated doing south and middle, but between the good time I was making and just wanting to get back home for dinner, and just how freaking cold it was and not wanting to be out in the wind anymore, I was just at sort of my limit for that day, and I was pretty happy with what I got done. So went up and came back, and Sunday we actually went to a New England Aquarium and took Rylan there.
Oh, did you end up making it to the aquarium, dude?
Yeah, we made it to the aquarium. We had a lot of fun. So I saw Myrtle the turtle, who actually has been there since like 1970 or something. I was looking up the history after we got back. So it's the same turtle. So anybody that's seen that green sea turtle in New England Aquarium and the giant center tank, that's been the same turtle since like literally the early 70s. I don't know how old the turtle was when they got it. So the turtle's at least like 54 years old, which is impressive. Myrtle the turtle. She looked like she was just sleeping on top of the reef at first, which was a little concerning, but she was swimming around later in the day. So I paid my money. I want to see that sea turtle swim.
Oh yeah, you don't pay admission fee to just watch that turtle lay around.
Yeah, and Rylan was stoked. She saw like they had a giant, or I think it was like a Goliath grouper, and that kind of ruined the rest of the trip though for her, because that fish was so impressively large that she just wanted to keep seeing the big fish.
Yeah,
like sea lions weren't impressive, like nothing else. It was just all about that big fish. That she
they got the penguins in there too, right?
Yeah, they had penguins, and the penguins. I've been told by a few people that this has happened when they've gone there, but two of the penguins were going at it.
Getting after it?
If you want, yeah, they were getting after it on top of one of the rocks. They were. It was Mother Nature in action.
Natural part of life.
They were going at it on the highest of the high rock piles.
Now,
the exhibit they had.
Which position were they using?
I think it's probably the standard position where the male tends to kind of hop on the female's back. But yeah, I was like, Ash was like, what are they doing? I'm like, oh, they're doing it. And there were a bunch of people just watching. Yes, the penguin pose. There you go, the penguin pose. So that was kind of a funny aside. And we got lunch up there afterwards, and met my sister-in-law Hannah and her boyfriend Matt up there for lunch in Boston. So that was kind of nice. But yeah, pretty chill weekend. Comparatively, I feel like with all the holidays and stuff, it was kind of nice just to be like, what do we want to do today and tomorrow kind of deal. So it was a nice little decompress.
Nice, man.
But yeah, man,
that's awesome.
That's about it. And speaking of sort of events and things coming up, we did want to actually plug that our friends over at the 48 Peaks organization for Alzheimer's of the Alzheimer's Association are actually hosting a winter hiking safety event. So 48 Peaks is hosting a winter hiking safety event in collaboration with the Public Lands in Framingham, Mass. on Saturday, February 8th. This is a perfect opportunity for people who are looking to learn more about winter hiking, what to pack in their pack, and other tips, as well as learning how you can get involved in the fight to end Alzheimer's through 48 Peaks. So stay tuned for more details, and if you're interested, mark your calendar for February 8th over in Framingham, Mass. And if you want more information, make sure to follow at 48 Peak Alz. That's at 48 PEAK SALZ on Instagram for updates and all things for 48 Peaks. So yeah, if you're kind of new to winter hiking, we figured we'd plug this. We're good friends with some of the people over at 48 Peaks, and we figured we'd give them a plug. So check out that event.
Free event, Nick?
I'm not sure about that. We'll have to detail.
We'll tag it. We'll tag it.
Yeah, we'll tag them. And we also did want to mention that it's a little bit early in the year, I guess, compared to when the event happens. But I think a lot of people know and are familiar with in the hiking community the 48 Peaks event for Alzheimer's that goes every year. There's usually a hiker celebration around sort of the summer solstice in June. Great cause for raising money for Alzheimer's. And that registration actually is open for 2025. If you want to get your team together, you can kind of do so over at 48 Peaks, alls.org/48 Peaks. So cool.
And go back and listen to that episode from last
year.
And that was a good episode.
Yeah, and the recap of the Gale Head hike that I joined, and then we actually did a team last year, or I should say that I organized a team, and we did Saddleback in the Horn up in Maine. So yeah, you can find both of those episodes if you scroll through. But it was a fun time, great cause, and yeah.
Nice. You ready to get into the music moment?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Let's do it. Nick's Music Moment is brought to you by Impact Botanicals. You ready to harness the power of plants and revolutionize your body care routine? Look no further than Impact Botanicals. We're thrilled to recommend their Working Hands Balm and Recovery Aid for all your skin and muscle care needs. Nick, I started working out again, dude. I'm so sore. So I'm going to need to borrow some of that recovery aid from you. Actually, I'm going to go on and get some for myself.
Just spray it down head to toe.
Yeah, I gotta spray up. But if you're dealing with dry, cracked, or callous skin, the Working Hands Balm, that's going to be your new best friend. Using the healing power of comfrey and calendula, it quickly restores your skin to its best condition and is ideal for those who are tough on our equipment. And that's not all. For the sore muscles and joints after a strenuous day, after doing about 10 push-ups for the first time in 7 years, Recovery Aid is going to be here to help.
When you're feeling real creaky and like something's going to snap in half.
Yep. Recovery Aid is here to help. The complex formula is packed with anti-inflammatory herbs that repair damaged tissue and expedite your recovery. Best of all, it's CBD-free and most effective when used regularly. Impact Botanicals products are not just good for you, they're good for the planet too. All their products are organic, produced with solar power, and with every purchase, they remove a pound of plastic from nature and convert it into energy. So if you're ready to transform your body care routine, check out Impact Botanicals today at myimpactbotanicals.com and use promo code PUDS, PUDS, for 20% off your order. That's myimpactbotanicals.com and promo code PUDS for 20% off your order.
Excellent. So I've done it again, Josh. I've done it again. I think I called out that this was going to happen.
Uh-oh.
I've gone down a rabbit hole with a new artist that I liked. So I've already had 2 Queens of the Stone Age albums. I think in these Nick's Music Moments, probably over the past 10 episodes. But
this is another one. No
yeah, it's another
way.
one. Yeah, it's another one.
Okay.
When I find an artist that I really like, I tend to systematically go through their entire catalog.
Yeah, no.
And a lot of their albums like this one have been sort of growers on you too, where it's like the first couple times you listen to them, you're kind of like, and then like a week later, like these songs are just stuck in your head like crazy. So for tonight's Nick's Music Moment, we have the album Like Clockwork by Queens of the Stone Age, and this came out back in 2013. So this is the 6th studio album by the American rock band. It's the follow-up to their album Era Vulgaris that came out in 2007, so pretty good gap there. This album actually topped number 2 on the UK album charts and actually topped number 1 in the US when it was released pretty quickly. So
nice.
I believe it's probably their most commercially viable or successful album, or at least it was at the time. It kind of blew the doors off their previous work. So this album is influenced a lot by Josh Homme, who's the frontman, guitarist, lead singer, by his hospital stay. He ended up in the hospital for 15 days during a knee surgery with complications. And it sounds like it was tough to get to the bottom of this one with online, with how the media reports things, especially with artists and famous people. but it sounds like it actually stemmed from a MRSA infection that he described likely from drug use at the time. So he ended up in a super dark place, I guess, when this happened. He actually went into like I guess basically cardiac arrest. They had to bring him back twice. And this was kind of a routine knee surgery, so I don't know what the deal is, maybe with the anesthesia and kind of what he was doing to his body at the time. Maybe that messed up. I was reading a couple different theories. Didn't really get to the bottom of it. You can read into it more if you want to. But this was a heavy influence on this album. He said that it kind of came out of a really dark, depressed place, and it was kind of a heartwarming story to a degree, because it sounds like his bandmates and people that he worked with musically really helped to sort of bring him out of this sort of depressed funk he was in, where he like really at one point didn't think he was ever going to leave that hospital. And he was pretty young at the time too. I don't know if he was in his late 20s or maybe like our age, like early 30s kind of deal, mid 30s. So another big influence on this album too was that at the time they actually re-released their self-titled original album that's just called Queens of the Stone Age, and they actually toured extensively, so that kind of refreshed, I guess, their sort of musical outlook and output and kind of what they were thinking of when they were sort of writing this album. To me, it's a great album. I've said this about several of their albums already. I'm really enjoying listening to them. Very
we gotta
guitar
get them
driven.
to sponsor the pod.
Yeah, sponsor the pod, Queens of the Stone Age, right? That'd be really cool. But really great guitar riffs, really great writing. As I was saying to you, it's very much a grower. I find, especially as I get older, a lot of the music I enjoy, I like to be surprised. I don't like a song that I can listen to like and immediately like, at least not all the time. Like I think it depends kind of what kind of mood my ears are in and what I'm kind of thinking of and listening to. But I think it's solid front to back. I'm not even going to call any single songs out of it. There were a few singles off it, like any sort of album that comes out. But I really enjoy this one front to back. I think every song is great. I think it flows together really well. There's some super funky, dirty, just tasty guitar riffs on it. Right from the beginning to the end. Josh is laughing when I said tasty guitar riffs.
Dude, dirty,
yeah,
funky,
but dude,
tasty.
It's dirty, funky, tasty guitar riffs. But yeah, man, Like Clockwork by Queens of the Stone Age. Check it out.
Nice. We're not gonna. I don't have a music moment. I would like to give you a shout out though from the last episode, the correction. We were talking about.
Oh yeah, our DJ
and
correction.
the beginning by Dijo, and you did discover that the actual album that song is from is the album Decide. So
yeah, so a little correction.
Correction.
Fake news.
Fake news. Wrong.
So wrong. All right,
man.
Yeah, we got some
ready?
some great guests coming up tonight. So
Let's go.
Yeah, let's roll. I'm stoked. Okay, so tonight we have Nick and James. So Nick was referred to us by our friend Lynn, and sort of told us about this Lincoln 100 race that's sort of being held for this Mission Clean Water organization. So there's a lot of stuff that we have to talk about tonight, how everything's sort of affiliated. James, I believe, got sort of dragged into this thing because I believe you're affiliated with the Mission Clean Water thing, and I didn't want to talk too much ahead of time, so we actually have stuff to ask you guys and sort of figure out what's going on. But you guys want to introduce yourselves and whatnot?
Sure, definitely. I can kick it off. So first off, thank you so much for having me, as well as Nick. I really do appreciate it. So kind of the basic intro of myself. So I am the founder and executive director of the nonprofit Mission Clean Water, where we focus on equitable clean water issues here in the United States, as well as internationally, primarily in Uganda. And this Lincoln 100 fundraiser, all the proceeds are going towards our mission towards clean water, because Chris Roma has assisted us so much before in the past, definitely in our very first few early days of inception. So it's like a good way of commemorating what he has really helped us accomplish. But then me, myself, just a general avid outdoorsman living in New Jersey, trying to explore as much as I can of the Northeast, whether through rock climbing, ultra marathoning, and just general exploring. So appreciate this opportunity.
Happy to have you, man.
Yeah, happy to have you guys.
Nick?
Yeah,
what's
so
up,
how you guys doing today?
Good, man.
Yeah, so I live in Lincoln, New Hampshire. I met Chris in 2021 when I moved up here. And we became pretty fast and good friends. It doesn't take long to connect with somebody when you're doing 30, 40-mile days in the White Mountains.
A lot of time to talk, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's the whole Lincoln 100 was Chris's idea. This was his original brainchild, I believe, after he got off the CDT a few years back. He was kind of looking for something to do and inspire himself and help out others at the same time. And he had attempted this in the winter, and he made it about 34 miles before having to bail. And so this was kind of a way of commemorating his unfinished project and raising money for Mission Clean Water at the same time. So it was kind of a no-brainer to loop James into this. I did a round of the Lincoln 100 in August, kind of just as can I prove to myself that my body can move 100 miles in one push before I, start putting it all over social media and
that's
go public with it.
That's
so you
smart.
did this. You did this
Yeah.
already. Oh, okay. All right. So this is not uncharted territory.
For either of us, I guess now.
Yeah.
James has done a number of 100-milers and done some in under 24 hours before.
Wow.
So I'm definitely going to be leaning on a lot of his expertise and experience. I've only been in the deep end once, so we'll see what happens.
You guys are actually would be our second 100-miler interview. We did early on. Friend of the podcast, Adam. He did that 100-miler. Yeah, and he told listening to his story. It's not. It's not anything I want to be a part of.
admire serious admiration and respect for you guys that are out there going to do those things. But yeah, I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. I've done some 20-30 mile days, but I don't know, that's a lot. So I guess we'll get into some of the logistics. So before we dive into sort of maybe Chris's story a little bit and sort of the inspiration, how he got involved with Mission Clean Water, do you want to just talk about like what the court? I saw it's a 3.2 mile loop in Lincoln, in sort of the town of Lincoln, New Hampshire. I'm sure a lot of people on this podcast are familiar with it if you've ever been up in the Whites and you've hiked. But did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's a 3.25 mile loop in Lincoln that compromises of Route 3, 112, which is the Kank Highway, and Connector Road is a road that connects them. And so that's a 3.25 mile loop, and we're going to be doing that 31 times. So it's roughly 31 5Ks in a row.
Only 31.
But it's all flat. It ends up being about 2,200 feet of elevation gain over the 101.5 miles is what it ends up being. And coincidentally, in August, when I finished, the exact 100.00 landed at the North Woodstock post office.
That's terrible.
That's hilarious.
I know. It was very fitting.
Are you adjusting where your start is this time? And I was also going to ask, what's the start time? Are you guys starting at like midnight on the 6th? And it's on January 16th. I don't know if we actually plugged that yet.
Yeah, so it's January 16th. We're going to be starting at 3:30 p.m. And kind of the whole thought process behind a 3:30 p.m. start is, well, we have fresh legs, run through the night, get those miles out of the way, and then hopefully get a little bit of fresh air when the sun comes up and finish strong in the daylight. That was my goal last time too, and I ended up going 32 hours. So I ended up going into a second nighttime and finished at like 2:30 in the morning. So I kind of screwed myself the first round. But yeah, 24 hours is the goal. That'll put us at a 3:30 finish on the 17th.
Jeez. So what kind of preparation are you guys doing to ramp up? I know, like, I know I'm vaguely familiar with sort of what you do for marathons and things like that, but does it differ a little bit in what you guys are kind of doing for prep in terms of something as big as like a 100-mile race or push?
Yeah, I can start on that. So there's not like any, at least from my perspective, there really aren't too many major differences from like a marathon training plan. besides like there's of course like the increase in distance. I would say typically for like a marathon training plan, like you have one long run on like a Saturday, but for ultra marathons you want to get used to running on like very tired legs, so there's also a second long run on Sunday too. So there's just less breaks as well. But I would say like, because with ultra marathons you're not running at like your typical marathon pace. You're going much slower. So it's a matter of trying to push the distance in your week training just to see like what liquids am I consuming well, foods am I playing around with well, what is good strategies for the actual day, and just like being comfortable moving for 5-6 hours. So it's just a matter of increasing the distance, playing around with different foods. And at least for me, coming from New Jersey, which is cold but not as cold as New Hampshire, just playing around with like what is a good layering strategy. So you're staying warm but not getting too sweaty, and just like having too much, trying to have good fun with it. And I would say a lot of people are like, you got to do more than like 100-mile weeks and really push the distance. I coasted a little bit lower just to kind of like stay healthy, keep going forward, and now it's just a matter of executing the day of.
Cool. Like, what's like the max that you're going out and sort of running distance wise before this, like 30, 40 or?
I actually didn't do any 50Ks this round. I was actually traveling to Uganda for a Mission Clean Water project. Then Nick pretty much texted me the moment I landed about this idea. And so kind of had like a decent window to train. But I would say for about like 2 months or so was just every weekend there was at least like one full marathon as part of it. So while I didn't like have the time to try and do like a 50K or 40 miler or plus, there was always like, I think I was like 7 or 8 marathons in a row, at least once a weekend, and then at least a half marathon plus the next day.
Wow.
You did a lot better than me in this training round.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So Nick,
seems like we've been averaging pretty similar mileage weekly. I've kind of been in that like 60 to 80 range primarily, and in the taper week right now, I'm hitting about 20 or 30 so far. So definitely legs feel strong, legs feel good, but mine's consisted of a lot of 5Ks. So I don't have a car, I don't drive. So I walk or run everywhere I go.
That'll do it.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, it's running to work, running home from work, running over to friends' houses, running to a trailhead, hiking, running back home. So a lot of 3-a-days to hit that 10, 12 miles a day for the week. But definitely sprinkle in some long runs on weekends, but didn't do anything over a half in this training round, which I'm honestly not too worried about. My legs feel good. I still have a pretty fresh memory of what 100 miles on the road feels like. Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you've done it, I guess if you've done it before, at least you have a nice jumping off point of like as you're going along. All right, I still feel good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did have some hikes, that were over, a half marathon, 20, 30 mile days, but
awesome.
Nothing on the road that was running per se.
So let me ask you guys something then, because this is like we're in the midst of winters. Do you guys prepare any differently, or do you game plan any differently for how you're going to tackle this? Because the conditions, I think we're about to get a bunch of snow dumped in the next like 2-3 days. Like, do you guys
I know at least
prepare any differently?
I don't know if it's gonna happen in the Whites. Yeah, I know you talked about layering, but if you had anything differently that you kind of do, not to jump in. Sorry,
I mean, of course, there's like the weathering of the body, but outside, just Nick and I texting back, being like, "We're doing this. I don't care if it rains or snows." I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to." It's just like the motivational push to be like, "We're just going for it." That's been like,
each other up.
Yeah, that's been like the main thing. But then like, there's only so much you can do to kind of prepare for it. I feel like I have like a good strategy to stay warm. And like in the end, the nice thing about this course, rather than doing just one big 100-mile loop, but doing a bunch of 3-mile loops, if I go out for a loop and I'm too cold or too hot, like within 20 minutes, I'll be able to layer down, get new gloves. My buff is getting too sweaty, change it out. So it's good to kind of have that aspect to it. So generally speaking, I'm not like too concerned about the weather, and just like bringing literally all my outdoor gear just to be prepared for whatever scenario gets tossed at us pretty much.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, just about the same. Pretty much going to be wearing Virgin head to toe, except for my wind chill. So yeah, they were super gracious they've thrown us our biggest donation so far.
That's awesome.
Our only 4-figure donation. So huge shout out to Virgin Outdoor. Super grateful to work at a place that puts their money where their mouth is. And I can say that as a customer that was buying stuff full price before I ever started working here.
Yeah, I've got a hat and a Highlander hoodie myself that I love. So they have good stuff. We plugged them before, but it's awesome to hear too when businesses are, like, as you said, putting their money where their mouth is. And I mean, they are a local business, so I feel like that's also really cool as well.
Yeah. So but as James said, I'm not really too worried about the weather. I've been out running every day and night in Lincoln, North Woodstock. So I've had some negative double-digit wind chill nights out on the road. So I've probably had a little bit more practice as far as what could potentially happen and my layering system.
I noticed James just gave a look when he said negative double-digit wind chills.
I mean, I'm not getting that in New Jersey. So I mean, listen, bring whatever is going to go on. Like I'm ready for it. There's nothing much I can do at this point. We did kind of get like some indication of the weather window, and I think it's like the lows are in the single digits, the highs are in like the high teens. But being in New Hampshire, it's likely going to be a little bit windy in that area of Lincoln. So just be ready for it and just have fun suffering pretty much.
So do you guys have a sort of support team around, sort of or do you guys just sort of stashing all your gear at one point, or how's that working?
Yeah, we'll have an aid station on course, and that'll be manned by, friends, family.
Sweet.
Some Chris's family and friends will be there, either doing laps with us, supporting us, filling our bottles. So there's going to be a ton of local support from here in the White Mountain community, which awesome. I know you guys have found out hiking and doing this podcast here for the Whites. This community is an awesome, tight community. They really come together in a hard time. So it's been awesome to have the support of it.
Yeah, that's great. So to take a step back, and I mean, I'll leave this pretty open-ended, whichever one of you wants to take it. So I know I don't know if everybody too that's listening is familiar with Chris Roma. I know a lot of the White Mountains community obviously is. I don't know if you wanted to touch on sort of Chris and his story a little bit, and also sort of James, how he got involved with Mission Clean Water and sort of how this happened. I know that's a massive question, so we can start wherever you guys want to go, but it's story time, so let's hear it.
Yeah, I can start us off with a little brief intro on Chris. Chris was a thru hiker, triple crowner. He was a father, a friend to a lot of people. He was passionate about the White Mountains. He really, really loved getting out on trails, getting out on these peaks, seeing what his body and his mind was made out of. And I think one of the most inspirational parts of how Chris approached this aspect of his life was
might have lost him for a sec.
Oh no.
That's where the local audio comes in. It'll keep recording because it'll keep recording for him.
It's that Lincoln, New Hampshire connection.
Yeah. They said Bergen had good Wi-Fi.
Uh,
He jinxed it. I'll give him a little bit. He should just be able to basically come back and join. I'll leave it rolling. Let's see if I can message him on Instagram.
you want me to step in on the same question?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, I mean,
No, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so Nick was giving an incredible, introduction to Chris, and at least for myself, knew him, I guess, kind of from the thru hiking community. But from my experience, hiking predominantly heavily in like West Virginia and like the New Jersey area, it was very quick to realize how kind of selfless Chris was, and regardless of who you were, he wanted to help you with whatever journeys you were going through, whether it be hiking or something completely different. And within a few minutes of knowing him, his radiance would just draw you right towards him, pretty much. And Chris and I have actually only ever hung out twice in person. Because our first time ever actually meeting was when I was doing my own thru hike across the United States, east to west. And just one day taking a rest day, happened to see in Colorado 2 thru hikers just getting pummeled by the rain. And one happened to be Chris. And during that 0 day, gave him a ride, because I had a car for the day, to the hotel where he was staying at. And pretty much from that moment on, we connected, stayed closely in touch. Once we both finished our respective thru hikes, there he is. Once we finished our respective thru hikes, just stayed in like close contact. I think he was trying to find a deeper meaning towards the thru hikes that he was doing, because he did want a Triple Crown, and did dedicate it towards Mission Clean Water, who I was doing my cross-country hike for, and then just stayed in contact pretty much ever since. Helped him out once on the New Jersey AT, but then pretty much every week we would talk for an hour plus, just trying to work and scheme of different ultra marathons and fundraisers we can do to try and really help grow what we were trying to create together. And he was responsible for raising like $30,000 plus for Mission Clean Water's efforts. Wow. Which was incredible. A lot of money. No, he's an amazing individual, and so we just stayed in close contact ever since, and unfortunately never made a chance up to New Hampshire to do any crazy hikes with him.
While we got you two on this topic, James, so it's good to have Nick. Nick is back with us for the listeners. Internet probably popped out for a sec, but he's back with us, so it's all good. We're still rolling. That's what local audio is for, so we got everything.
Perfect.
But James, you want to talk a little bit about Mission Clean Water, maybe? And I know you mentioned sort of you guys are involved a lot in Uganda, but and you're sort of the founder. But do you want to talk about maybe sort of founding that and kind of how that came into fruition?
No, definitely. Since high school, I always had a big interest focused around clean water, whether it be fundraising or trying to get much more involved, and kind of pursued water management, I guess you can say, as like a potential career into the future and in college, and just continue to get much more involved in like the nonprofit world. I ended up creating Mission Clean Water because as I got more involved, I kind of saw the good, bad, and ugly side of the nonprofit world, most predominantly on the international stage, where I just learned, thousands upon millions of clean water projects are failing within their first year of operation. And so we need to figure out new structures towards ensuring we can really have this infrastructure for the long-term benefit of the communities we're trying to really impact. And so Mission Clean Water focused heavily on creating these initiatives with the community, proper management, and for full growth into the future. And I think at this point, off the top of my head, we've benefited a little bit over 50,000 people across about 40 different projects, and are have a great opportunity to grow. And then here in the United States, we completed 2 projects in the United States and in California, focused around all the lead and PFA contamination that's been going on.
Okay,
I'll tell you, man. I think we take for granted here how important having clean water is. through my church, we have gone into different countries and brought wells to these probably some of these same communities that you're talking about, and you really don't realize until you're there. I know they just got back from India like a few months ago, and you just don't realize like how big of an impact you're making on these people's lives that don't have access to fresh water, or are in these still in these class systems where if there is a well, they're not the people that are allowed to go use that well.
Yeah.
And there's some junky well that they have to try to get their water out of. So for you guys to be going and being able to provide this basically source of life for a lot of these people is really incredible. It's such a noble cause to take on.
No, thank you, appreciate it, and also great work to what your church is accomplishing as well. And it has been, even from like what I've learned through the books and education wise to what I've learned just in the field, it's the impacts have been completely profound in the sense of it is one of the necessary steps to kind of elevate an entire community, especially people that are much more disproportionately affected, like women and girls and people with disabilities. Because if you don't have clean water, you got to walk 4 or 5 miles to find water, carry 5 gallons, 45 pounds plus all the way back. The water you're bringing back is likely going to make you sick. So it creates this whole windfall of issues that can be solved with clean water. We're trying to take it one more step farther and ensure that you have clean water, but also safely managed and well-organized systems to ensure that can last, generations to come.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great cause. That's pretty inspiring.
Thank you.
So now that we have Nick back, hopefully I don't lose you again. Do you want to kind of talk about and kind of go into again kind of how you got to know Chris a little bit? I know you're saying he's kind of father, family man, pretty inspirational. Before we kind of lost you there for a bit, so I'll leave it to you.
Yeah. My apologies on the White Mountain internet connection I got going on right now. But yeah, thank you. Thank both of you guys for having me and James on. First off, and I'm honest, I could not be more humbled than working with an organization like Mission Clean Water. I think, like you said, Josh, it's really amazing how much we take for granted our access to clean water. Hospitals aren't a thing in places without access to clean water. Educational systems, your real basic community needs start with clean water. So the fact that I'm able to use my able and willing body to be able to do the easy part, as far as I'm concerned, trying to fundraise some of this money. I couldn't be happier to be in the place that I am right now. But yeah, going back to Chris,
because it all starts with Chris. For the listeners, everything that we're talking about starts with Chris. So the Lincoln 100, Mission Clean Water, it all kind of points back to Chris. So
back to Roma.
I'm sorry, Nick.
Yeah, no, you're good. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, I had met Chris in 2021. And like I said, we became fast and hard friends. And Nick and Josh, you guys might know about this, Bear Pond.
Yes.
The Bear Pond bushwhack, kind of below the Twinway.
I've heard of it before, yes.
So it's a long flat out on Lincoln Woods, and then Lincoln Brook Trail out towards Owl's Head. And then you're basically bushwhacking, but it's really, really long mileage and low elevation gain. So I didn't know if I'd be able to keep up with this triple crowner guy that wanted to go hiking.
A little intimidating.
So this was my plan to get him out there and see if I could hang with him. Was let's get off trail and slow you down a little bit for me. But yeah, that was the first hike we ever went on. Was out to Bear Pond for a day hike and back, and I learned pretty quickly that we clicked at a good pace and had a lot of similar interests and goals in life and similar determination, and became fast and hard friends. And Chris passed away in January of last year up on Mount Bond and Mount Gio. He was attempting a single-day winter Pemi loop. And it didn't work out, obviously, the way that he had expected to going out. And this is kind of what is happening and transpiring in the wake of that. It's been a rough start to the year for sure, getting over that and moving past it. I was out of work for about 4 months, and found myself over at Bergen in May, and really started getting things back on track, and had this Lincoln 100 idea because I wanted to do something to commemorate Chris, and I didn't know really what I wanted to do. And then this unfinished project was kind of looming for him. And so I threw down on that in August just to kind of test myself. And now we're here to do the real work and raise some money for Mission Clean Water.
Awesome. Do you have any idea how Chris, how that brainchild sort of popped in of doing the 100-mile in Lincoln? Or
so when he had got off the CDT in 2018, I believe it was, or maybe 2017, he was back home in the Whites in Thornton, New Hampshire, just a little bit south of Lincoln. And
Chris was there.
Yeah, that's right. Chris was, born over in England, but he moved over to Thornton when he was 2, and that's where he lived for the next 35 years of his life. Lost my train of thought there.
Damn it, Josh.
That's my fault. That's classic. That I could do that to you. Yeah, that's because I never had my train of thought. So
yeah. But yeah, I wanted to complete a project that was unfinished by Chris. And I know he was, I think, just feeling getting off of doing something so grand as the CDT. I think he was feeling a little bit of lackluster in his life back home in Thornton. And I think he needed to push the envelope again. And so with practically no training, I think he just had his girlfriend sitting in a car as a support station.
That's awesome. Be like, I'll be back in a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much just tried to go out and raw dog 100-mile road ultra in the winter.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
So that just showed kind of his determination and willpower right there. But super stoked to be carrying his brainchild and project forward. In his honor and name.
Yeah. And I might be partially to blame as to how he came up with this idea, because I guess I was talking to Chris a ton when we both finished. It is my fault, because we both finished in October of 2017, roughly speaking. I think him a little bit after me, and that's when he was back. That's when we started really talking a lot about hey, I'm creating this nonprofit, Mission Clean Water. I've work on these. I try and every year create these, self-supported fundraisers. Here's all these different ideas I have going, creating your own 24-hour run, which I think I did in 2018, which he might have done, which I did do in November. So I wonder if it correlated with the time of him wanting to do the Lincoln 100. It actually might have, which I'm realizing now, because I did my own 24-hour run around just a big loop. And then I did a Mount Everest challenge where you pick a hill and just climb the height of Mount Everest, which is 29,029 feet.
Yeah.
And I did it on this hill. Chris did it with me in New Hampshire at a parking garage, on a 2-story parking garage, just up and down, gray cement walls all around you. I have no idea how he did that. It was hilarious to hear it from him. And so I think that kind of like sparked both of ours continual want and push to try and do these, self-created events that kind of began growing into something that could be, larger than ourselves pretty much. So I think that's kind of how he was pushing towards it, because I feel like I remember talking to him about it and then hearing how he did end up dropping.
Okay.
I really love talking, because we've talked to a few people now that just have like this otherworldly drive that's just like the drive to do this 100-miler, the drive to do, like you said before, climbing Mount Everest, but in like a parking garage. Like it's really incredible, and we're just very blessed to have the opportunity to be able to talk to you and people that are like that have this drive. But what I find even more special is the fact that this man took this drive and used that, was probably already going to go and do most of these things, but to use that and now to help you in Mission Clean Water, and now same thing, Nick, for you to now take that torch, and now that drive has become yours, and to help that to fuel you to do that same thing and help Mission Clean Water in a different way, and kind of find this unfinished goal that he had and keep it going, is like, it's just incredible, because it's just, not everybody has it. I don't think I have it, so not everybody has that drive to really do these type of things that you guys are doing.
I appreciate that. That's one of the beautiful things about Chris as well, because he's one of those individuals that can, identify that, like, I'm trying this challenge. There's always something I want to be working towards, whether it's small or big. And, I might have what could work, and here's what I can do a little bit differently. And, while he, at the time with the Lincoln 100, didn't complete it, he was brainstorming, what can I do now to complete it and move forward? So he's a very mindful individual, and even with his intensity with being a thru hiker, was extremely jazzed with wanting to introduce anyone to the outdoors, regardless of skill level. Just really wanted to show his love for what has given him so much purpose, and to ignite that with so many other people. Because I'm sure for the folks that aren't speaking on this podcast, he's likely inspired thousands to do their first hike in the White Mountains, or a completely different in a different state, as well as inspired through hikers to do the next one that I have talked to, and has really motivated an entire community that will continue to pass on his legacy and his torch, not just Nick and I.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, James, I did want to harken back to something I believe you said earlier, and you mentioned hiking across the United States.
Yes.
Okay, so we gotta hear a little bit about that. You can't just drop that and bury it. So
that's
what happened there?
there's a lot to talk about with that. Yeah. So I went to the University of Delaware, college of 25,000 folks. And then I moved to West Virginia after school, to a town of 300 people. And so moving to such a remote location, I had to figure out unique ways of trying to fundraise for clean water projects, and wanted to do it in very symbolic ways, because the community around me is a little bit smaller. So how can I reach a bigger audience? So originally what I did first was, I want to simulate the image of a woman or child carrying water, but what's an intimidating distance? So first I did a marathon a month for a year while carrying 45 pounds of water. And then after the 12th marathon, like 3 weeks later, I was like, okay, roughly speaking, a woman or child will walk 3,200 miles in a year just to find dirty water for their family. So how can I symbolize that journey? That's how far it is from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. I'll do that. But I also want to symbolize like what a family goes through to find water. So I also pulled about 90 pounds or 10 gallons of water the entire way. So it started in Princeton, New Jersey, meandered north to Flint, Michigan, so I could volunteer there for some time. Denver, Colorado, Salt Lake City, San Francisco.
Wow, that is an incredible feat. Now, did you have it on a pack? How are you actually hauling that? How are you dragging it, or?
I was dragging it, yeah. So,
oh my God, wow.
Do you know the company Burley? They make like the bicycle attachments for kids.
Okay, not familiar, but I think we know what you're talking about.
Yeah. If anyone here has ever seen just like the little kid in like the caboose almost of a bicycle attached to them that a parent pushes.
Okay.
I had something very similar, but the company Burley has like a cross-country skiing attachment. So rather than a bicycle attachment, it had like a waist harness. So I just attached it to my waist like a rickshaw almost and just pulled it the entire way. So I had pretty much all of my like heavy supplies in there. And then I did have like my big backpack as well, where that just had like the supplies for the day in. So if I needed to grab like a snack or some water, I could like continue walking while just like grabbing a bag of chips and keep on going along my way. So that was kind of like the overall setup. And like it was a lot, but like once you get the momentum going, it kind of just moves freely. Obviously uphill or downhill kind of blows. It actually wasn't until like, it's terrible. It'd always be behind me too. And it actually wasn't until like many years that I finished this where someone was like, what'd you do going downhill? I was like, oh, just like sit behind me and push me. And they're like, why don't you just move it to the front and like hold it slowly? And I was like, oh crap, I never thought about that. That would have been such a better idea.
Awesome. I would have been sledding on it.
Yeah, no, it's just literally shooting me down the hill, and I'm just trying to catch my feet. So yeah, it was and the route was all self-created. For something like that, you can't be on like the interstates or the major highways. You kind of have to find the country roads and state highways going along, and you really see a lot of unique aspects of the United States. There is I'm forgetting the name off the top of my head. Maybe Nick might know, but there is like an official trail that you can do going east to west. The American Discovery Trail, I think it's called. It's kind of marked, but like the AT, there's like this literally the one hike, you can't miss it. But with the American Discovery Trail, it's like a connection of many hikes. So I just kind of went solo, more or less, off the trail.
You must have got some interesting looks, I'd imagine, during some of that.
Oh yeah. A ton of looks, but like I don't know. I think I would get mostly a ton of looks. I don't know, most of the time, like people just kind of like mind their own business. But once a day, like 3 or 4 people be like, "Oh, like, what are you doing?" We don't get folks like you in the middle of Nebraska. Like, what's going on?
They haven't seen someone for like 2 days. Then they see you coming out the road.
Like, no one's traveled down this road in forever. That did happen. But then you just give like the same little spiel, and like, oh, that's so cool. And like I had like a URL attached to the bike so you can kind of see everything, the pole sled more or less. And then, but most of the time people would be like, all right, what the hell is going on? It would be when I'm just walking the same road for like 15 miles and it's the one road connecting 2 towns and the person's going back and forth nonstop. Then they'll stop and be like, I've seen you like 5-6 times today. I need to know like what is going on.
Yeah. It's a dead body back.
It must be end up being. Yeah, really.
There was one time in Iowa, because that was also like the middle of the summer and it's very hot and very humid there. So I would be starting at like 3-4 a.m. That's only happened once where like I started in the brink of dawn, super early. I get along the way, and just out of nowhere, like a cop pulls me over, and I was like, do I pull over? Like, what do I do? But they just kind of
I'm just
follow behind me. Yeah, exactly. And that was the one time they did card me, mostly because they're like, we don't get this ever, so we're just curious if anything. I had like a friend's police card I gave him, and he was like, I don't want that, and just took my license, and that was it. And he was chill about it, but he was just more or less curious, like, all right, like you do you, I guess.
Yeah. That's awesome. It must have ended up being sort of good publicity though in the run, because I feel like people, it's not like you're just running with nothing. I mean, I feel like you're sort of a little bit out of the ordinary looking out there, so it must have been cool to like sort of share your story and like what you were doing with a bunch of people literally across the United States.
No, yeah, that was a really fun part about it. Also, the way the route was created was a way for, like, based off my studies, to visit certain parts of America that I do know have like historical water issues. So it was also interesting to kind of like hear their stories, hear their perspectives. And, you know, you would give the people who were genuinely interested, but most of the time they're just more interested in the fact that, like, oh my God, someone new has come to our town. We want to show you why Hastings, Nebraska is super dope. Come help us mow our 7,000 acres of corn. And just like, here's the mayor. You want to sleep here? Go for it. So people were like, no one cared about where I was from, what I was doing, or like what was going on. They just wanted to like welcome someone new doing something interesting, which was really nice.
Shout out to Hastings, Nebraska, if there's any listeners out there.
Hastings and Omaha get bad reps, but I do like those cities and towns.
That's awesome.
So Nick, how about you, man? Like, what do you do besides this little 100-mile race? What else you working on?
I got some plans that a few people up in the Whites know about. And I won't spill the beans for this coming summer on the podcast, but it's gonna be about a 650-mile loop here in New England.
Ooh.
Wow.
Hoping to go sub 30 days on it.
Those beans are feeling kind of spilt right now.
I don't know.
I sense a future podcast appearance after the beans have been spilled.
Yeah, it's been in the works for a few years. Me and Chris were actually going to do this last end of the summer, into the fall, and he ended up not being able to get enough time off of work, and he had a 2-year-old. And so we ended up just settling on a diaritissima.
Just a mere diaritissima, yeah. Just a
mere. So he actually he completed it. I bailed. I made it from Moosilauke to the hairpin after the Hancocks on the Kank. And it was 4:45 in the morning, and I pretty much ran into the parking lot, and our support guy Foghat was there waiting for us, and I just started cussing fucking up and down, and I was like, get me the F home, dude. I am done with this.
You guys were doing that in one continuous push, running through all that?
No, that was day 3, I think.
That's still a long
day 3.
Yeah,
we did Moose, the Kinsmans, and Cannon. Slept at Lafayette Place. Went up, did the Ridge. Went over to Galehead, and then dropped down to 13 Falls. And then we did an out and back to Owl's Head, and ended up going over the Bonds. And you ford the Pemmy when the Bond Cliff Trail starts to flatten out, and then you head over to the Hancocks. But it was like 4:45 in the morning, and it was kind of funny because, you know, talking in retrospect with Chris after this had happened, he was like, dude, I was dead rolling into Hancock at the hairpin. Like, you were speed walking and pissed off. Like, you didn't need to quit. But he ended up completing it in just under 11 days, I believe.
Wow. Do you want to describe what that is too? I know what it is. I don't know. I believe Josh knows what it is. I don't. Listeners and
absolutely. I can definitely jump the gun. Used to just, you know, being stuck in the little town of Lincoln, where almost everybody is a hiker.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, I'm sure it's probably like half and half with our listeners that know. But yeah, what is a daritissima?
It is a foot-powered connection of the 48 high peaks here in New Hampshire. So it's typically done in a south to north or north to south fashion. And we had started at Moosilauke and we were going to end at Cabot. And yeah, I made it 3 days and about 75 miles and had a
Probably like
big old emotional meltdown on trail.
Yeah, and I was gonna say you guys probably would have done like 17,000 feet or something at that point. I would have to imagine.
Something like that. Yeah, it was definitely a test piece for sure.
Yeah.
As far as putting up those miles in the whites and the elevation gain back to back to back, and that was right in the middle of a heat wave that hit at the beginning of December.
Lovely.
So it was like 90 degrees for our first 2 days.
Wow.
And then the third morning, I couldn't keep down any food or water on the way up to Owl's Head out of 13 Falls.
Wow.
And before I even got to Galehead Hut, I didn't tell Chris this, but I had already mentally kind of committed to bailing at the hairpin.
Yeah.
And yeah, so they don't always work out like you want them to, but Chris had already attempted the Diartissima once before, a few years prior, and he had bailed. I think he had started at Cabot and was going south, and he bailed somewhere around the Prezzies, I believe.
Okay.
So this was his second attempt, and he kind of gave me that look of I've already quit. I know what quitting feels like. No matter how bad I feel right now, I'm going to keep on walking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is a very understandable feeling now in retrospect, for a number of reasons. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there and doing that as part of a bigger goal.
Cool.
Let me ask. So now there's a lot of big goals I've talked about. Well, that you guys have talked about today. Is there any like joy in just going and doing just one mountain, like one hike?
Oh yeah,
like 7 miles. Like no big deal.
Oh no,
or is it like, if I'm gonna go out and do 7, I might as well go out and do 14.
No, I mean, as much as I loved going and throwing down on a 30+ mile day in the whites with Chris and a ton of vert, I got friends in their 60s that are still hiking up here and peak bagging in their late 60s. I hope that I am fit enough to be 67, 68 years old and still bagging 4Ks and trying to throw down on Z-Bonds traverses during the winter. There's some badass people up here. Gonna give a shout out to our support dude Foghat.
That's a great nickname, by the way. I know we kind of brushed over that before, but Foghat is a fantastic nickname.
He's a really special guy. He's got about 5,000+ miles logged on the AT over the last few years. If you've been a thru hiker on the AT in the last 5 or 6 years, you're probably hard pressed to not know him.
Right.
He's an annual occurrence on the Appalachian Trail at this point.
Wow.
But
do you have a favorite peak?
For a number of reasons, and even before this whole Chris incident, the Bonds were always my favorite. I kind of grew up coming up and backpacking in the Pemi, and I'd stay over at the Geo shelter on 3-day Pemi loops or just out and back to the Geo shelter. That West Bond Geo shelter area is kind of the center of the universe as far as I'm concerned.
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I've got the Bonds for winter left, so I'll be looking to get out there this year as well. So I'm looking forward. I haven't actually done the Bonds since like 2019ish, I think, when we did it. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there. It's a beautiful area. If you're listening and you haven't been out to Bond Cliff, it's something out there for sure. It's a different vibe, I think, than the Prezzies or even Franconia Ridge. You can see it obviously, but the feeling of being out there and not being able to really see anything man-made other than like probably Mount Washington and like the ski slopes on Loon. I think that's really all your only really signs of civilization out there, which you don't really get most peaks in New Hampshire.
Yeah, so, you can feel pretty out and remote, but in all reality, when you're up on top of most of these 4Ks, You can see the cell phone tower off in the distance blinking red. You can see town lights down here, but the bonds are a pretty special place. You're not seeing a whole lot of human activity from there.
Awesome.
Cool.
So,
anything else you guys kind of wanted to touch on before we wrap up here?
Another little thing that has kind of been spurred forward from this tragedy involving Chris Roma is the Snow Safe Summit, which I know you guys touched on a few weeks ago with Lynn from Hiking Buddies.
Oh yeah.
So you remember, Nick.
Yeah, so the Snow Safe Summit is a direct kind of inspiration and idea in the wake of Chris tragically passing away up here in the Whites. We want to avoid avoidable tragedies up here in the White Mountains, and looking around, there really wasn't anybody putting in the legwork, so to speak, as far as getting something off the ground and running as an annual just dedicated winter safety event. We kind of saw a huge opportunity to fill a gap that's much needed here, and we want to be able to reach people from Chris to Emily Sotelo a few years back up on Franconia Ridge. Still an experienced, almost done with her 48 list, but pales in comparison for experience as far as somebody like Chris. And there's all of us kind of fit right between those two as far as the spectrum go. We're not immune to anything, and it's been a huge wake-up call that no matter your experience, no matter how strong your legs are, that's not always enough to get you back to your car. You need to make good decisions out there. You need to bring your 10 essentials with you. You need to be prepared to spend time out there. I've been guilty of it myself many times with
I think we all have.
Chris being my main partner in crime, going out there and trying to do a Prezi or something, or just doing a fast and light alpine traverse in the winter. And these search and rescue guys would scoff at what was in our packs if something were to ever happen, and unfortunately something did. And that was a huge wake-up call for me, and I believe the whole White Mountain community.
That's a good point. And that's No Safe Summit. That is February 14th, I believe.
Yep. Correct? February 15th and 16th. Okay. It's President's Day weekend. It's the Monday is President's Day, and for the Saturday, Sunday before that, it's at Barn Door Hostel down in Rumney, New Hampshire. We have an Instagram page running right now. If you go to the New Hampshire Hiking Buddies 48 Facebook group, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners are probably a part of. Yeah,
and we'll share all these links in the episode details for you listeners out there as well.
Awesome. But New Hampshire Hiking Buddies is a good place to start. They've been kind of the steam behind the engine, so to speak. Huge shout out to Lynn. She does so much amazing work up here in the Whites with a number of different organizations.
Absolutely.
And I really enjoyed listening to you guys' podcast with her. And I'm sure I was not alone in that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So if you actually want to hear more in depth about that Snow Safe event, she does go into good detail about what is actually going to be happening at that event and the people that are going to be there. So if you want to go back and check out that episode we had Lynn on, that's actually would be a good resource along with the links that we'll attach.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially this time of year, and it kind of like Nick was mentioning, I think it's one of those things that I believe Lynn kind of said the phrase too, but it's like you don't know what you don't know up there. I think in the winter, it's a different beast up there. I mean, I was up on Carter Dome on Saturday, and I actually encountered a group of hikers that kind of, again, I try not to, you check in on people, you try not to be like, hey, like I know more than you kind of deal or any kind of crap like that. But I could tell that they were not prepared to go above tree line in what was forecasted to be negative 30-degree wind chills. Even though Carter Dome is mostly sheltered, but I mean, that's about as cold as it gets on those peaks this time of year. And I mean, I think I'd probably talk them out of actually going up past Zeta Pass. I think they were kind of poking around, but you can tell they're already frosted up, and you can just tell the layers and stuff, and people don't have it. Again, I don't think they're trying to be malicious is a weird word to say, but like they're not trying to be stupid or do whatever, but you don't know what you don't know. And if they didn't check the forecast that morning, they just think, hey, we're going up into the winter, and they don't realize that going up that last 800 feet or wherever, you might be popping out and exposing the wind. Like, it was cold. I mean, it's one of the coldest days. I mean, I'm not super experienced winter by any means, probably my 4th or 5th winter up there. I'm working through my 48 and kind of wrapping that up for the winter season, but it is unreal up there how the weather is. And I think it's one thing to say it's going to be a negative 30-degree wind chill. It's another to experience that and see what it does to your body. And especially if you can't be moving firsthand, it's really something powerful. And I mean, again, God knows what Washington felt like that day or things like that. But it's really great to see people like you, Nick, and Lynn going out there and setting up these sort of events and kind of clinics where people can kind of really get some experience doing that and talk about these things and learn a lot more. Because again, like you said, I just think there's not, unless you're looking for it, like it's not like someone's going to sort of hold your hand and lead you to the answers that you're probably looking for. So it's great work for sure. And the hiking buddies too, I think is tremendously important. It's great stuff.
Yeah, honestly, I'm super grateful to be, associated with either of these organizations, Mission Clean Water and Hiking Buddies. They're both doing the hard work out there. I can only do my best to try to spread the word about both organizations and do my best to get some funds in their bank accounts.
Cool. And speaking of funds, if people are looking to donate to this cause, which I hope they are after hearing this amazing story, where would they, and again, I'll link it, but where would they go to sort of do that?
No, definitely. Yeah. So if they want to donate, as well as if they want to learn just anything about the event itself, where the loop is, Lincoln, New Hampshire, the aid station setup, and what to do if you want to join, all that can be found on Mission Clean Water's website, or by visiting missioncleanwater.org/Lincoln100. Nick and I have also been posting about it pretty much regularly on our Instagram pages as well. So if you just find one of us by searching one of our names, you'll find us immediately. We'll just send you the details as well. And then, donating is wonderful, but also if anyone wants to come and do a lap with us, come support, drive by and honk their horn, literally anything helps build any sense of morale and emotional and mental boost. And we appreciate, any way someone wants to come and hang out with us for a little bit.
And so all proceeds are going to Mission Clean Water. That's right?
That is correct. Yep.
And then do you guys have like a goal? What's the goal for this year?
So the goal right now, I believe, is $20,000. Nice. That goal, we had a bit of a higher one because I always shoot extremely optimistically. But $20,000 is the current goal that fully funds our next clean water project. Awesome. It is a solar distribution project, so we'll drill for a very big water source and then distribute water throughout 4 different communities, a school and a marketplace. So a larger scale effort.
Let's hope these guys get to that goal, because I'm telling you, I've seen it. I've seen the impact. I'm sure, James, you must see it in everything that you do. But the impact that it has on people's lives is incredible. It's something we take for granted. Like I said before, the clean water here in the United States, we take it for granted, but it's so important. So let's get these guys to their goal. Let's make sure we give.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Yeah, well, best of luck. I don't think you guys need it. You guys are clearly both driven. You both it's awesome. I love the fact you guys are cheering each other on. That's just super admirable. It's pretty incredible. And this whole feat here and how it sort of materialized from Chris, and sort of his story, and hearing his sort of association with you, James, and kind of Nick. Clearly it's amazing how one person can affect so much and change so much. So that's just incredible. Awesome.
Incredible.
So yeah, best of luck, guys. I'll actually be up in New Hampshire potentially Thursday night, so maybe I'll come out and try to honk at you guys or something, or maybe run a lap. We'll see. It depends when I can get up there with my daughter and my wife, but I'm planning on heading up for this weekend. So best of luck. I know you guys are going to crush it. And we'll see you on the other side, as they say.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for both your time.
Definitely.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Later.
Thanks, you too.
All right, man. You got anything for tonight's Descent? Anything you've been watching?
Buddy, like I said before, I got to watch a couple movies this weekend, and
Awesome.
I you know me, dude. I'm a movie guy. I love watching movies.
You are. Between you and my wife are both massive movie buffs. I don't even have to figure out what to watch. I just listen to what you guys want to watch. That's about it.
So on, I think it was on HBO Max, was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay.
Which was, I think, the 2003, like, took home Best Picture and Best
All right.
Lead Actress and Best Supporting Actor. So
Who's in that?
Oh man, Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh's in it.
Okay.
You might know her from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon back in the
Nope.
early 2000s,
Nope,
late 90s.
I do not.
What? Have you ever watched Crouching Tiger?
Yeah, like in the early 2000s. That's why I said I don't know.
And
Just being honest.
I forgot the other actor's name, but he was in Loki season 2. He's the guy that is in that little workshop in the basement. But yeah, we watched that. That movie was great. That movie was really good. I can see why it obviously won those awards. But yeah, that was, what a great movie that was. I'm not gonna give you any spoilers, but I'll give you like
Okay.
a basic rundown.
Hey, can you give us a taste?
It's like Loki season 2, but if it was like had nothing to do with Marvel.
Man, that's so descriptive.
It's like
That's
multiverse.
really clear.
It's like multiverse stuff, but like in real life.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, it's good. It's not as crazy as it sounds, but it is kind of it's kind of wild. Great. It's a great story though. And then we also got a chance to watch Beau is Afraid, which was on Amazon Prime, and it was like a very captivating and
Beau is Afraid?
Yeah, Beau is Afraid. Joaquin Phoenix is the lead actor in this movie. And yeah, it's like they consider it a horror comedy. It's not scary really.
Huh.
But very captivating, very
Is it new?
Yeah, 2023, so a couple years old.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
he was
there's
just in
not-
the Joker too, right? That came
Yeah,
out.
that movie is. Don't even get me started on that,
Okay,
dude. That
okay.
movie is
We won't go
absolute
down that.
garbage.
We won't go down that hole.
Straight trash. But yeah, Beau is Afraid is very like. It's basically a story about a guy that has anxiety,
Okay,
and
I'm with you.
it's artsy. I can relate. It's the thing that I think I really appreciated the most about this movie was it kind of like transcends reality to an extent, but now you're wondering if that reality is his reality because of what he's dealing with through his anxiety.
That sounds interesting.
So it's there's a lot to unpack there, and it's not like a very straightforward as like the ending will definitely leave you like, if you're not like able to use your imagination, the ending is going to leave you very unsatisfied. But if you kind of can get into it and you can see and understand what's happening and you can stay locked in, like it's worth it. So I would check that out. That's Beau is Afraid.
Cool, man. Is it like B-O? Beau?
Beau.
Okay. Beau is Afraid. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Joaquin Phoenix. And Joaquin's good, dude. Even
Yeah,
though Joker Folly a deuce.
Yeah, I mean,
terrible.
I feel like he's a pretty well-known actor. I mean, he's done a lot of great work at this point in his career.
Yeah. How about you, man? Anything to send on?
Not anything in particular. I mean, we've still been catching on that Karen Reed trial from that crime podcast, but nothing much. I don't know if I've talked about this guy before. It's another YouTube channel that me and Ash enjoy watching from time to time, but it's called Minty Comedic Arts, and it's basically this dude that that runs through like 10 things you didn't know about all sorts of movies. So he had a bunch of Christmas ones recently. So he plugged through like Jingle All the Way and Christmas Vacation and a bunch of these. But just shout out to Minty Comedic Arts. They're all like typically 10 to 20 minute sort of little blips with usually really interesting factoids. If you're into movies at all, I think it's cool. So yeah, that's about it, man.
Yeah, cool, man. You ready to get into the hyperthetical?
Please, I've been waiting. My voice is a little scratchy there. I've been waiting.
It's the anticipation in your voice.
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Nick,
Josh,
you are given the opportunity to create and direct a feature film. The studio offers you a huge budget, provides you with top-notch writing and technical staff, and allows you to cast whomever you desire in the lead roles. There are essentially no limitations on what this movie can be except for two. The movie you make has to fulfill the following two criteria. It has to be extremely edgy and transgressive. You need to confront taboo social issues. You need to shock people. Ideally, the film will address ideas that have never been tackled by mainstream filmmakers. In fact, if the movie is not the most controversial film of the year, the studio will probably not release it. However, number two, it has to be it has to get a PG rating. It cannot be R or even PG-13. There may be limited profanity, minor depictions of violence, and fleeting nudity, but nothing that would prompt the rating boards to go beyond the
fleeting
PG.
nudity.
Fleeting.
Okay.
A little side boob. That's it.
Yeah. Fleeting. Gotcha.
But nothing that would prompt the rating boards to go beyond the PG classification. So, Nick, the question: what is the premise and plot of your hypothetical movie?
That's a big thing to come up with on the spot. I don't know, man.
All right, man.
Do you have one in mind?
I'm gonna give you mine.
Give us yours.
I don't have it fully fleshed out.
Okay.
But when I picked this one out before, I kind of thought about it a bit.
Okay.
I want to tackle the mental health crisis that's happening in America. Okay? I believe there's a very big issue with mental health in America, and I think it's just has become one of those things where it kind of gets pushed to the side.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
When you look at the amount of homeless people and the people that are in those situations, I think a majority of the root cause of that is mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you can make that into a PG movie, dude, I think that would be the most, what was the word? Edgy and transgressive.
Yeah.
I think that'd be the most edgy and transgressive.
No, dude, I think that's great. I mean, I'm not even going to, I think that's a great topic. I mean, my initial thought too was when they're saying PG, like maybe you could do it through like sort of a kid's cartoon kind of way.
Yeah, do like a cartoon.
Yeah, but like something really.
You got a kid who's different than the other kids in elementary school. He's got a little bit of maybe he's on the spectrum a little bit, and they bully him and pick on him and don't let him do his thing. But instead of it being heartwarming at the end, you find out that 30 years later he's in the middle of the street like begging for change.
Yeah.
That's how you really hit the heart.
Yeah,
Stu.
like
that's how you
the last like 5 minutes or something of it.
Oh yeah.
Or not even.
You don't tie it all together where somebody comes and like, you can be my friend, buddy. No, you just make a reality and like, this guy's.
I like that one, dude. I think you bring up a really good. I feel like we always end sort of getting deep on those, but no, I think that's definitely a huge issue. I'm sure it's not just in our country too. I'm sure it's many countries in Europe and things like that where it's happening. Sure. And I think really too, just touching upon mental health. I mean, I see it. I feel like still even in my life, not to call it certain people, but I do feel like even with COVID and stuff, that had massive repercussions for people's mental health. And I feel like some people really have never recovered from sort of that anxiety of sickness and being sick and things like, I mean, I don't know. It's funny because it's like with every year where I feel like with COVID is still around, obviously it's never going away, but it's almost like people forget that we did get sick with other things other than COVID. And maybe I sound, come at me if you think I'm pig-headed or maybe I'm being insensitive or things like that. But yeah, I think it's something that was seriously underestimated at the time, making people quarantine and really making people fear. Literally, some people fear seeing each other, their friends, their family, and stuff. And I really think it effed people up, to be fair. And I think people are still getting over it, even though it's 5 years later. So
you figured out your movie.
Yeah, I guess
it's a COVID-19 movie.
Do it with like from a kid's perspective or something like that. And
right.
I mean, there's no arguing right now that it really caused a massive gap in kids' education for several years as well. And children weren't really affected by the virus like older people were. So I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it before people are gonna be sending us hate mail and we're gonna get canceled. But that's all I'm gonna say on it. You're welcome to have your opinion on the COVID-19 pandemic and how it affected social and economic things across the world and the countries in our country and whatnot. But yeah, I guess if I had a movie, I'd probably tackle that premise.
Yeah.
From a PG perspective.
That's just our opinion. We love you all. We don't. If you have a different opinion, we actually don't. We don't. We're not gonna hate you. We love you.
No. We love anybody who listens to this podcast.
That's it. Some people that don't too.
Yes, and some people that don't.
Oh man! All right. Anything else?
No, buddy. I think that's it. Just going to remind everybody we've got those fresh holographic and matte stickers. Yeah. If you send us a message on any of the social platforms, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, we'll get them out to you. I've still got some left. They are dwindling, but yeah, if you want some, get them while they're hot or cold. Maybe more cold in the winter because they'll be in the mail, so you'll be grabbing them. They'll be cold.
Yeah, get them while they're cold.
Yeah, that's it, man.
And then like, review, subscribe, share us with a friend. You can find us on social media at PUDs Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. You can watch us on YouTube at PUDs_podcast. And yeah, until next time, bippity boppity, give me the zoppity.
Bye.
PUDs Podcast was produced and recorded in Black Cat Studios by the Pud Boys. Find us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving us a review and subscribing. Find us on social media, and we'll see you next time.